Tamales.
Y yo ando en busca
Tamales.
de una blanca palomita.
Gracias.
¡Redada! ¡Policía!
Everybody sit. I said everybody remain seated. Siéntense.
Está pasando, por Dios.
Right. You. Show me your papers. Papeles. Now.
On the afternoon of February 26, 1931, immigration officers, working with Los Angeles police, quietly surrounded the plaza you're standing in, carrying out one of the very first public immigration raids in the United States. You can't see any trace of that story now. If you look around the plaza, known as La Placita Olvera, what you see is a riot of color and fun. The atmosphere is festive. That contradiction is at the heart of this story. Which histories do we choose to remember? Which histories are we encouraged to forget? I'm Katie Long, founder and director of the California Migration Museum. In this audio tour, Ni de Aquí, Ni de Allá, our guide Karla Estrada will tell us a story of two halves. The first part's about the reinvention of historic Olvera Street in the 1930s as a kind of Mexican fantasy land. But there was also a much darker story unfolding here at the exact same time. About 1 million people of Mexican ancestry who were forced to leave the United States even when they were American citizens. Here's Karla to tell us more.
Hello, my name is Karla Estrada. I was born in Mexico and moved to California in 1996 when I was 5 years old. I came to La Placita Olvera all the time as a kid with my parents and little brother Angel. It always felt very special, one of the only places that reminded me of home. I grew up very poor, and it was the only place that my parents could afford to bring us. My little brother and I would run around the main plaza. It seemed huge at the time. Sometimes, the mariachi was on the kiosco stage. There, in the middle, playing music.
Right now, we're in the plaza, facing out toward Pico House, that white building with rows of arched windows. You should be standing right in front of a large plaque that reads, Los Pobladores, the founders of the city of Los Angeles. If you're not there yet, press pause now and press play again when you arrive in front of the Los Pobladores monument.
This plaza is filled with a whole lot of monuments. Take this plaque in front of us. It lists the 44 pobladores, the original settlers who arrived from Mexico in 1781 and established a settlement here. This is where the story of Los Angeles begins. Though, of course, beginnings are inventions too. There were Native Americans, members of the Tongva Nation, living here for more than 2,000 years before the settlers arrived. And the identities of the settlers themselves, listed here as mestizo, mulatto, indio, negro, reveal what was already 200 years of colonization and trauma in Mexico. In other words, Los Angeles was founded as part of a colonial project on stolen land. But the rank-and-file settlers were also people of color, people who had been colonized or enslaved themselves. This isn't an easy history.
If you turn to your left, you should see another monument. This one's a larger-than-life statue of a man dressed in armor and holding a baton. Walk counterclockwise around the plaza until you're standing in front of him.
This is Carlos III, Charles III of Spain. He was the ruler of the vast Spanish Empire that stretched from here all the way to Chile and Argentina. History traditionally remembers him as a very effective king, but effective meant oppressing indigenous peoples and erasing their culture. So is this who we should memorialize here, in the center of multicultural Los Angeles? But there's a lot more to this place than the pedestals. La Placita has been at the center of city drama for a century. This is our public square, a place for protest. Even today, you might see people holding signs and hear them chanting for justice or immigration reform. Sometimes, I'm there too.
Turn your back on Karla Estrada and continue walking slowly, counterclockwise round the plaza. Stop when you're about another quarter of the way around, on the side closest to the lively pedestrian marketplace, near the plaque on the rock.
The protest tradition here actually goes back more than a century. In the 1900s, La Placita was the meeting point for the many newly arrived poor immigrants who lived in the surrounding neighborhoods: Mexicans, Italians, Chinese. By the 1920s, the plaza was well known for the radical political rallies held here. The Placita's role as public square might explain why authorities decided to launch a highly visible immigration raid here in February 1931, kicking off a decade in which 1 million Mexicans and Mexican Americans would be deported or otherwise coerced into leaving. We'll hear more about that later in the tour. But to understand why this history is so invisible today, we need to also understand the story of how and why this plaza and the surrounding buildings that make up El Pueblo Historic State Park were preserved like this. Come on, let's head out of here.